Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. How exciting is this? Oh. Welcome to Queenie's live chat. Tonight I'm going to talk about the ways that we contort ourselves into a pretzel in order to be loved or appreciated, or in order to have people like us. And the only reason I know that I can be an expert talking about this is because I'm an expert at doing it. And I've been an expert at doing it for a long, long time. So let's see. There were some points that I really wanted to make, and they kind of went out of my head. But they'll be back, I promise. So, hi, everybody. And let's see. A lot of times, we say yes to things when we really want to say no because we want to be loved, because we don't want to be rejected, because we don't want to be alone, because we don't want to disappoint someone that we care about. And it's a habit that we get into. And it's kind of sad. But it happens. So I am going to talk about some of the ways that I contort myself, have and continue sometimes to contort myself into a really beautiful, pretty pretzel that maybe somebody will love and accept and never leave. That was right. The biggest contortion, the biggest pretzel job is so that somebody wouldn't leave. And I learned that from way back. And I think that we learn things from childhood or young adulthood that continue, patterns that continue to replay over and over again in our lives. So it looks like I'm alone here, but I'm sure people will watch later and we'll talk about this. So why I started people pleasing, and results may vary. Everybody has their own reasons why they either make themselves small so that they can be accepted, or puff themselves up big so that they can be protected or accepted. Hi, Michael. But when I was little, now it's not okay. So I wanted to go into some of my history so that you can understand like where I came from doing that, and probably ultimately why I really gravitated towards theater when I was in high school, junior high and high school. It's because for the longest time I really didn't feel like I existed unless somebody else was paying attention. And it kind of, I still have those moments of it, because I think a lot of times we can heal things and they don't completely go away. They just get a little quieter, or they stop being in our way as much, you know. So my mom had a hard time being mom. It was scary and it was hard, and she suffered from depression. And so she was adopted by my grandparents, who were pretty affectionate with me, but apparently not so much affectionate with her. And so she just didn't have the tools. She wanted to, but she didn't have the tools. And so I kind of grew up feeling like I was in the way or extra, like no matter what I was extra. So I had to either be like the worst possible child to get her attention, which I did with her, but then I was the opposite elsewhere. Because when my parents split up, I tried to be the opposite the other place, because boy, they would lower the boom. Anyway, so I think that I learned that that being myself was not going to get me loved. I wasn't going to just get loved. Hi, Alicia. That wasn't going to just get loved just because I existed. So I figured out how to play parts and how to be quiet when I needed to, so that I either wouldn't get in trouble or so that they wouldn't leave or whatever. But what we find as we go through life kind of that way and trying to control ourselves so much, it turned me into a kind of an anxiety-ridden control freak. But I know nobody understands what that's like at all. So here's what I did. Hi, Cheryl. So because of my history, which I don't want to, I kind of want to completely go into, but I feel really bad because my mom is a lovely human being. It's just that she just wasn't emotionally available at all. And it was very hard for her to be. And she knew what I will give her credit for is she knew that she was messing us up. And so she tried to find other alternatives for her children because she knew that she was fucking us up. And in fact, so that's to her credit. But it did create a sense of never being good enough to get my own mother's love, never being good enough for that, or accepting being extra or second best, or accepting just about any little crumb to and being able to build up in my imagination how much love the other person had for me, or my mom, or whatever. But so these kinds of things in a person's history, or whatever it was in your history that causes you to not feel comfortable being yourself because you feel like it's not going to get you loved. I think the biggest charge, and what has come up for me recently, is this and it comes up over again. I mean, I don't know why I'm talking about recently, but what happens is, I have my shit together in some respects, but in the relationship respect, like dealing with partnership and romance and stuff, that I'm still kind of immature. I'm probably more mature than I think, but I'm still kind of immature because I still think that that unless I bend over backwards, and unless I am compliant, and unless I say yes, or, oh, that's okay, then I'm going to be left. And you know what? Honestly, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But why? But why? It's really hard to be brave enough to just kind of say no if you need to say no, or wow, that really doesn't work for me, and ask for what you need, even though maybe that person isn't going to be able to provide it for you. And it doesn't make them wrong, and it doesn't make you unreasonable. My big, huge fear was that I was being unreasonable. But sometimes I feel unreasonable. Don't you? Oh, thank you, Amy. But don't you feel unreasonable sometimes? It has to be okay to have, a few meltdowns. As long as you're accountable as long as you're not destructive, and as long as you're accountable for, wow, I'm tripping out, right? I'm about to have a cow. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna throw down. To be able to own that. And it's funny, it's like in regular life, in my friendships and stuff like that, I seem to be better at that than in my romantic relationships. In my romantic relationships, I just don't want them to go away. So sometimes I will really, really contort myself into something that I'm not, or be more amenable than, or agreeable, as Jordan Peterson would say. There are people who are agreeable, but, and I'm one of those people apparently, to be more agreeable, just so that the person would stay around, because I wasn't, I'm not done. Like, I like you pretty much. I don't want you to go away, even though there are some things that may or may not jive with my needs or wants. I mean, honestly, nobody's going to fulfill all of those things. But it's just been kind of blaringly clear the ways that I have been kind of selling myself short, or settling because the alternative is, and I continuously did this throughout my life, settling because the alternative would be that I was alone. That doesn't make anybody that I ever dated before a horrible person or anything like that. It doesn't, because this stuff is happening within me, like the fears about it, the thought that I need to be something that I'm not, just so that I can be loved. And I'm sure that we all do this. We all get our feelings hurt and don't say anything because we're afraid to upset the other person. We don't give other people enough credit to be able to handle the fact that our feelings get hurt. We don't give people enough credit that our friendship or our relationship is strong enough that they can handle. It's hard to trust people. I think I found it, and I find it hard to trust people, to trust that they mean what they say and that they're not going to disappear, because I have had consistent disappearances in my life, whether it's getting ghosted, or whether it's just, people just changing their minds. But I'm taking it personal, of course, because some of it is. But how do we do that? How do we bend ourselves into special little pretzels just so that we can be loved? And how can we not? And how can we be nice to ourselves when we do it again, just out of habit? It's like, I think that once you've learned how to either make yourself small so other people are comfortable, or how to bend yourself or be agreeable when you don't feel so fucking agreeable, just so that somebody will, because their anger might feel like it would hurt you more than your internal anger that's sitting there brewing because you're smiling and you're not feeling it. But you think that their feelings are more important or more scary, more random than yours. At least you know yours, and I don't think that. Yeah, exactly. I know, sweetie. I remember. I've been reading about what's happening. That it's not good. Not good. I had two different kinds. I had the one that was not very available, but a very sweet one. And then I had another one, another one that really didn't know any better, but was pretty strict and sometimes scary. But she was really, really young when my dad married her, and all of a sudden here she had all these kids, and it was a lot. And I don't know how much better I would have been or not better. I think I might have been a little better, but she didn't know. And I just kept my head down as much as I possibly could until I was a teenager. And then I backtalked. It was pretty intense. But it's not going to completely go away, but we can kind of mitigate what's happening. And you can kind of make it better, because all you can do is try and make it better. Like, the more you practice, even in the little things, like practice little no's when you want to say no rather than yes. But I mean, it's hard, because I think this is what I do. I convince myself that I'm pretty clear that compromise is part of relationships, and so I can justify a lot of compromises, maybe more compromises than I need to justify, because I'm worried about asking for what I actually really need. And I think that we all do this, and I think I get better and better at it as I get older, and I get more able to say no if I mean no. But it's really scary, especially when you have, it's like, we're not going to die if somebody breaks up with us or leaves us. We're not going to die. But there's this feeling that you just might stop breathing if this person goes away. And that's not necessarily healthy, but it's a habit that we get into, because what happens for me personally, and maybe some of you will feel this way, is like, I get so fucking exhausted having to start over again with this getting to know process and all of it. And I, like, it takes a lot for me to allow someone really into my heart and into my close, intimate relationships. It takes so much for me to allow that to happen, that it's like this investment, and all of a sudden, if it's not being regarded with the same regard, then it's just weird to me. I don't understand it. And I've had that happen a lot, where my version of the relationship was totally something else. And we'll get to that topic another time, about the imaginary relationships that we have. I mean, I figured that I can get on here and I can talk about stuff that goes on with me, and maybe that will help all of us. But I still have to own that I still make concessions that maybe I don't necessarily want to make. And I talk myself so much into the concessions that I don't necessarily want to make, that I get very confused as to whether it actually is okay or not. I get to the point where I've contorted myself into such a pretzel that I'm not even sure what I want, like what I really want from it, or whether I'm really, whether something is really okay with me and whether it's not. Like, that's the mind fuck, is that we can get to the point where we've contorted ourselves into a pretzel so much because we think for some reason this person, somebody outside ourselves, represents something that we think that we need, and so we do whatever we can to make sure everything's copacetic and they don't go away. And we lie to ourselves about it so much that we don't even, it's almost like, it's so insidious that it's almost like I don't even know I'm doing it. Because I get sidetracked from, okay, this is my plan, this is what I want in a friendship, a relationship, this is what I want. And then you get into the middle of it, and what you want kind of shifts a little bit, but does it shift as much as you think? Because you're settling for something that maybe might not work in the long run. Is it okay if it doesn't work in the long run? It's I mean, it all kind of ties into relationships, actually, that relationships for me appear to be rather temporary, but not completely temporary. My connections are going to be always, and my love is going to be always. But my physical being with someone appears so far to be only a temporary thing, and for which I will catch myself contorting a lot. I think the most recent experiences of this have me not contorting even remotely as much as I ever did before, but still kind of confused about what I want and like what I really want in a connection and what I require in a relationship, and like, am I really changing and shifting my actual attitudes about what I want, or am I doing it to conform to what will make it work? And these are questions that I ask myself. Like, is this the pretzel that I want? Is this the pretzel that I want to turn myself into? Or is this not? And I don't know. I mean, how many of you do that a lot? And what would it mean to be able to kind of let go of the idea that that just you being you, warts and all, is not going to be good enough. It's not going to be reasonable enough. It's not going to be acceptable enough. It's not going to be, where do you get the idea that everybody else gets to run around being themselves and doing their thing and asking for what they want, but you don't get to? Where'd you get that idea? Where'd you get that idea that it was right? Where did we get the idea that we're never enough? I mean, my roommate, Miss Heather, and I, we talk about, this non-dairy Ben & Jerry's ice cream fills that hole, that bottomless hole of need, that bottomless hole of never feeling satisfied, never feeling enough. Boy, does that ice cream fill it up. Sometimes it's a cookie, but we have all kinds of ways that we try and numb out when we are not satisfied about something. But we also have all kinds of ways, that masks that we put on so that we can be loved, so that we can be accepted. A long time ago, oh, hi, Betsy. A long time ago, I did a one-woman show, and it was called The Divine Box. And the premise of the one-woman show, the premise of The Divine Box was that when we were born, we got this box, and it's this beautiful box, and we didn't get any instructions on what to do with it, but we watched what everybody else did with their other boxes, Where's the cookie? No. We watched what other people did with their boxes, and so we learned how to do it. And what the other people did with their boxes, and they learned it from the people around them, and they learned it, was they shoved everything that was unlovable about them, everything that they thought was unacceptable about them, or that they thought was unlovable about them, they shoved it in the box. And you just keep shoving it in the box. What? You're jealous? Shove it in the box. What? You're mad? Shove it in the box. All these things that would get in the way, quote unquote, that you perceived would get in the way of you being loved, accepted, cared for, and feeling safe and secure, get shoved in that box. But eventually, at, I don't know, about 30, things start eking out of the box because it gets full. Because by the time we're 30, we have been shown and told by the television, by newspapers, by movies, by many other people, like, we've been told what we should be and how we should act and what we should want. All that time, we've been told that. Well, it is horseshit. It's true. But by the time we're 30, the box doesn't seem to stay sealed. And so these parts of us come out, and they don't come out to torment us, and they don't come out to destroy our lives. They come out to tell us a story. They come out to teach us something about ourselves. Because part of all the shadows, our shadow parts that we've shoved in that box, or that we've shoved down into our psyche, those are integral parts of who we are and what we are here to bring to the world. Even if it seems dark, your righteous anger has a purpose. Your jealousy is telling you that you might not be getting your needs met the way that you would like. Your quote unquote selfishness, that's you acting out because you haven't been paying enough attention to you. So your shadow part of you has to go underground and act like a jerk to get you to pay attention. So anyway, I did this show, and there were all these different characters, and the only characters that I was able to that I let out of the box, let's say, and I was only in my 30s when I did this show, the only ones that I was comfortable with allowing other people to see were the shopaholic, which I have since figured out a lot better, deeper reasons behind her. And the really scared, abandoned, shy child. She was hiding and scared. And when I try and make big sweeping changes, which I have a tendency to do every once in a while, I'm dragging her along, and she was terrified. The ever popular "You Suck" monster was one of the characters, and that character, the "You Suck" monster, will come through, colored through the whole show. My sexuality, my passion, my lust, my sex drive, she was in it. I wrote this really great poem called "Fuck Me," and I don't know where it is. I don't have it anymore. And I think the video of the show disappeared. But so anyway, so the show, there were just a lot of different parts of me, but those were the only parts that I was comfortable enough to share with people at that point. And since then, I mean, the show would be too long now because I've got all kinds of parts. But so imagine that you had this box that you stuck of everything that you thought was unacceptable about yourself or unlovable about yourself into this box, and you just never, and you just imagine yourself trying to sit on it to keep it shut so that people will like you. And what is the most kind of effed up thing about that is that we think that no one's going to like us if we just have regular emotions like anybody else. But a lot of times I find, and this is with me and maybe with other people, is that it's like their really intensified dramatic feelings are okay, but mine are, I don't feel like mine are. And I get less and less as I get older, but I didn't think that mine were. Like, because there was always somebody that could bluster a lot bigger than me. And also because I can tolerate a lot before I go off, but I feel sorry for you if you actually get me to the point where I go off. My daughter probably knows that. But it's just, we all want to be loved. We all want to be accepted. But the thing is like, ideally, I'd like to be loved and accepted and cherished for being myself. And I don't think that up until maybe in the last 10 years that I don't think people actually saw me. I don't think I let people actually see me in the last 10 years. And now, yeah. And now I feel like it's okay because thank you. A goddess. Right back at you. So and here's the little tricky thing. Anything that you see in these videos about me that you are admiring, you need to understand that I'm doing this to be a mirror. I get to mirror back to you your own beauty and your own preciousness and your own lovability right there. I'm reflecting it back to you. That doesn't mean we're both not fucking amazing, but so how can we find ways to feel safer expressing who we are and what we need and what we want without any shame? Ooh, shame would be another good topic. Oh, that'd go down a rabbit hole, wouldn't it? But I mean, part of the contorting yourself into a pretzel so that people will love you is that you feel ashamed of who you actually are. And there is no shame in who you actually are. There's no shame in being me, even though it's like I'm freaking... Some days I feel like I'm fine taking up space and everything's okay. But other days I feel like I'm not allowed to take up space. I shouldn't take up space. Like, okay, imposter syndrome. Here, I'm having these live chats, and I know that you guys really like the ones where I'm pulling cards and stuff like that. I never thought that unless I was pulling a card, unless I was giving you something like that anybody would want to watch, that anybody would even, that this would be relevant or interesting to anybody. But then I realized, you know what? I want to talk to people every week. I want to share this stuff, and I want to feel like I'm doing something that not only helps me, but helps other people. And so here, I mean, in essence, I'm kind of doing this to be loved, but I'm not contorting myself in a pretzel anymore. I'm going to tell you that, I may be really on it. I may be really on it about certain things. And I may be able to do readings for people and intuitive coaching, and I may be able to see them. But seeing myself has been a problem. Or acknowledging or owning myself has been kind of a problem. But I like myself better. But again, as I said earlier, in my romantic relationships, I'm not as mature as I would like to be. And that's something that I'm in the process of changing and shifting and growing and owning more of, what I require and what feels good. But I still have a ways to go, and I'll probably always have a way. I don't think we're ever done. I mean, if you're done, then you might as well go to sleep and not wake up. Oh, thank you. I love you guys too. So I know that we can all be, oh, there's a cat behind me. That was Stanley. He's the shy one. He's looking at me like, What the fuck, bitch? Don't talk about me. He's leaving now. I'm out of here. She paid attention to me. Yeah, but like Bowie's over here, so well, you can barely see him.
There he is. He's sleeping.
But so and thank you, Betsy. But so I know that last time we talked about dreams and stuff like that, and what. So I'll give some more examples about ways that we people please because we want to make sure everything's going to be okay. We do it at our jobs. We do it in our friendships because it's uncomfortable. We do it on the street because, we want to not cause trouble. Sometimes at jobs, my people pleasing was so intense that I would have myself completely stressed out, and all I had to do was ask for help, and I didn't know. I didn't know it was okay for me to ask for help. And that was a big fucking deal. And that caused a lot of problems for me. And the other thing about that is ways you kind of betray yourself, I don't necessarily want to have a day job like that, but it's what I'm doing now, and it's actually, a better environment than I've ever worked in with nicer people. So that's really a good thing. I don't have, nobody is manipulating me or trying to take advantage of me at this job. So that's really great. My biggest deal is I just really hate getting up so early, honestly. And if I could figure out a way around that, and I don't want to have to get off really late either. So I'm kind of spoiled, but I make concessions so that job will still be there. And even when it was really sucking, the last project that I was at, it was really rough for me. I still tried to make nice and tried to make the best of it because I was terrified. Because I don't have enough money saved up for retirement yet, I don't, and yet. But so I made myself smaller or turned myself into somebody that I didn't necessarily want to be, and it wasn't my natural way to be, so that I could keep going. And that is just absolutely no fun. But I haven't figured out what I would do if I wasn't doing that job right now. So I have to kind of go with it until I get inspired to take some inspired action that'll put me in another direction. I know this is a start because I've really wanted to do. I really enjoy doing the videos. I enjoy talking to everybody and getting the little chat feedback and everything like that. It's really it's good. It's good shit, man. It's good shit. So in that way, I've contorted myself into a pretzel as far as work is concerned. Sometimes I used to in friendships a lot, and I stopped doing that a while ago, which is really, 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 really a great thing, and my friendships have improved. Although with the advent of, and here I am totally hypocritically talking on social media, talking about the advent of social media, it's weird how that can make you feel closer to people, but you're still really isolated, And so it makes me think, are my friendships really changing, or is it just the mode of it changing or the expression of it changing. Because, you know, I had besties that I would see all the time and we'd hang out. And now I just don't hang out with people as much as I did before. And then with work and everything, sometimes I don't have as much energy to do that. Yet I'm on here like all day or whatever on social media, and I can interact just like this, easy peasy. And I don't get tired or anything like that. But I think it's weird how it's become both personal and impersonal. And when I first started doing social media, of course, I was just like most people. You want to present your best, your best shit. You want to throw down with your best stuff. Oh, I'm so clever. Oh, look how cute I am in this picture. And yes, I take a lot of selfies. Because I like feeling good. I like when I feel good, and I curate them. I will take the picture a couple of times before they're right. Hey, I'm vain. It's just it. It's hard becoming middle-aged and being vain. It was very sobering. But this is what you've got. This is what I've got, and it's good. I finally am okay with it, and that makes me happy. But so contorting into a little pretzel for work, contorting into a little pretzel for friendships. I think that as I begin to feel more lovable and more acceptable as a person, and not too much and not too extra for anything, the easier it gets for me not to have to pretend. Woo, you caught a yawn. Oh my goodness. But how to not pretend? The only way that I've been able to get better is to just do it a little at a time and talk myself into it and talk myself out of the opposite. But I don't, as I have stated before, I don't think it ever completely goes away. We're always going to be tempted to acquiesce if somebody else seems to have the bigger feelings about something, or if we don't want someone to leave, or I don't think those feelings are going to go away, but I do think that they can be quieter, and I know that I've made mine quieter. But I will have full disclosure, I'm still I'm really, really good at figuring out communication for other people in their relationships, and maybe what the other person might be feeling, and maybe how to approach something. Can I do it myself? Not so easy, because I'm in the middle of it, and because it brings out this primal kind of fear feeling. And so I'm teaching myself to respond differently to things. And I'm really, really blessed and lucky that I seem to have people around me that are willing to stick around while I learn to do that. And I'm really grateful. Not so grateful that I'll bend over backwards grateful, which is what we were talking about, but grateful and feeling blessed about it. So it is very good. So maybe this didn't give, I kind of wanted to give some sort of resolution to how not to bend over backwards and contort yourself into a pretzel just to be loved. But I also think that most importantly, you need to know that if you do that, you're not the only one who does that. And getting real is kind of a scary proposition, but it's worth it. But you need to understand and cut yourself some slack. You're not going to be able to just do it overnight. And it takes little tiny steps. And you're still going to have those fears I mean, I could be talking to myself right now. I'm still going to have those fears come up that if I say how I really feel about something, someone will disappear. If I say how I really feel about something, I will be too much. I'll finally push them over the edge and they'll change their mind. And what's interesting is I have had things like that happen in my life, but I think if in retrospect, part of it was that the person probably sensed that there was something going on underneath that I wasn't saying, or this weird kind of, they smelled desperation or something, and then they break up with you. Which, you know, I have to say, if somebody acts desperate with me, it's really hard for me to, it's not appealing to me either. But I, you know, it's, imagine, I think it would be kind of weird to be in a world where people didn't have undercurrent things going on. But it doesn't have to completely rule everything. And as we strive to be better at communicating with people, we'll get it down, and I'll get it down, and and the best way to do it is to practice. It's just so scary to practice, you know, but I just have to convince myself that, you know what? Ooh, dinner. Sorry. That I'm okay. And that regardless of what happens, whether I end up completely alone talking to myself in a video, or whether I end up with hundreds of people listening to what I have to say or more, that I'm still okay. Whether I say no about something and set some sort of boundary and I lose a friendship or I lose a relationship because of that I'm still going to be okay. Because I did something that was positive for myself. That I said how I actually felt. And then I expressed more of who I was. I brought more of myself into my life. I brought more of myself into the living of my life. And the more I can do that, the better and more whole that I feel. And I think that that's something to pretty amazing to strive for. And shit. Years ago, like 1986, I read my first, new agey self-help book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And one of the things that she said that really struck me was an affirmation. That doesn't mean that they're appropriate for all the time, because when you're really in the shits, they'll just piss you off or make you feel worse because you can't get there. But this affirmation is, you are lovable simply because you exist. You are lovable simply because you exist. There's nothing you need to do, be, or have in order to be lovable. You just are. Just because you're here and just because you exist. So if we could remember that, I'll try and remember that. If you could try and remember that about yourself, whoever's watching this, whenever you watch this, say it with me. I am lovable simply because I exist. There is nothing I need to do, be, or have. I just am. That's a really good closer. I love you guys. Thank you for watching. And I'll be back next week. And, I'm sure a topic will come up. Because that's just how it works. Good night, you guys. Bye. Yeah, I know. Card of the month is going to come up in a couple of weeks, too. Good night.